Yeah, all good.
Good evening, gamers, and welcome to That Warhammer Talk Show. I'm your host, Mikey from Hellstormwargaming. I host this excellent show. It's one of the biggest and best Warhammer Talk shows in the universe. Thank you very much to the host, Jake's 2 pence. I'm joined by another lovely guest, a fantastic guest. Some epic beard envy for you guys at home because there was 2 fantastic beards on screen. I'm joined by Dom of Realspace Raiders and D6 Evolution. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, nice. Yeah, good to be here, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you very much for coming on. It's very good to have some excellent guests like yourself. And I'm looking forward to chatting all things Drakari, Chaos, what Dom does in his spare time that isn't Warhammer, and maybe even some London Grand Tournament rubbish. Maybe. We'll see. It looks like we're live. If there's any sound issues, any visual issues, then do let us know. We're going to talk random rubbish for a few minutes to make sure that's all working. But hopefully then we can actually start the actual show. But welcome Jake's 2 pence and Leech over on Twitch, and hello Ginger Steve and Defcon on YouTube. Hope you're doing well, guys. So Dom, did you do anything exciting this weekend?
Yeah, just more prep for LGT, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Like after like a summer of kind of like RTTs and like prepping for LGT, I basically broke all my models by accident. So
Excellent.
I've just had a whole like weekend of fixing stuff. Like every single kind of like the backpacks, whatever they're called, they're all broken. So I've had to like put them all back on, converting all my old Talos to
putting the good guns on them now.
Yeah. I didn't want to buy any more, so I just thought I'd just mag all the bits together, and yeah, it's just been a bit of a hobby weekend.
Nice. That sounds good. I haven't. I say you've been playing those RTTs. I haven't actually played a proper event since Las Vegas last year, which is quite funny. Like I played a practice tournament, not this weekend just gone, the one before. And that was like a couple of lads getting together and let's have some practice games ready for London. But then it turned into a tournament. It wasn't really supposed to be a tournament at first. And then it turned into a 3-round event. And that was the first time I properly played a proper RTT. But it wasn't really a proper RTT, which is weird.
Yeah.
And then this weekend, obviously coming up, is the biggest event of 9th edition. I'm playing in an invitational because supposedly I'm good at Warhammer. I think it's good people or famous, so I think I'm going to take the famous bit and take that as a compliment, which is fun. So it's very exciting. So I think all the sounds okay, so we can properly start. So Dom, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you come from? Where are you going to go? Where did you come from? Dom Maidlow. Oh, look at that. There we go. We made it rhyme. Excellent.
Well, I'm from like London area, like North London, just outside a place called St Albans, in Hertfordshire, and yeah, I'm part of. I'm a big Drakari player. I'm absolutely like dived headfirst into that after coming from Chaos a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
And I fell in love with Drakari straight away. And met a few lovely lads, and we have a podcast now called Realspace
Really?
and it's everything from hobby, lore, and competitive play. And we're just here to talk Drakari and help anyone that needs some help with Drakari, and just that's about it. Like we're just here for the hobby, which is fantastic, which I find fantastic because we pay enough for this hobby as it is, and I just want to give back a lot. And with Drakari, know it fairly well, and I think we give some good information there for even from going from painting to competitive play. And
nice, that's cool. So if you are interested in hearing any more from the Realspace Raiders, there's a link down in the description right now if you watch on YouTube, or you can go to facebook.com and search for Realspace Raiders podcast. Now, what I find interesting about Drakari, Dom, is I think they are one of the only factions that have like so many channels that are solely dedicated to just Drakari. Like some of this is you guys, like there used to be like with a podcast called The Spire or something that was like just about Drakari, and there's obviously Scary who likes Drakari, and I think that's really interesting. I don't really see like many channels that are dedicated to like Chaos Space Marines or even just Space Marines, and there's loads to cover there.
You would have thought there would be a Space Marine channel. But yeah, it's just one of those factions where like people just like they just love it, and like the fan base is like fantastic because it's almost like 3 armies in one, because you got your like, Cabal, which is like the shooty sort of like poison everything with then shoot dark lance and everything, and they're all in their pirate ships, and then you got like the witch cult who are like gladiators and they're all about combat, and then you got your bit on that side you got your like disgusting creations, almost like Fabius Bile sort of like big grotesques and Talos and everything like that, and it's just so much with it. And like with our new codex, like there's not like a bad build, which is just mad, and you got these 3 factions which have to work kind of together, and it's not like Chaos Space Marines where you have to ally in some demons if you're wanting certain aspects of like if you're missing close combat and you're running like a I don't know, a shooting army with lots of I don't know, like not plague burst crawlers, venom crawlers, and all those demon engines, and you need a bit of bloodletter help. You can ally them in. Yeah. But with Drakari, you can just pick and choose whatever you want, and you get through, which is just it's just a fantastic army, and it's just so the way that the book is done, like the play style is exactly how it should be. It's just bang in your face. That is try and deal with us.
Yeah, exactly. And everything seems to be like really good at doing it. Everything just seems like, and that's probably why they got such a high win rate, is that they're probably just so optimized where no unit feels like a waste of points. Every unit kind of functions in our way that helps the army in some way, which is excellent, which is great book writing, but also hard when every other book hasn't been written that way.
It is also a case of like our model range isn't vast, so like when they drop a book, and now like for instance like Contemptors are good, so everyone runs out and gets Contemptors, and it takes a while for people to get those models, and then when they do have them, they're now really good. But with Drakari, everyone had all the models that were good anyway, because everyone had witches, everyone had raiders, everyone had venoms,
because all the core stuff's good.
Yeah, exactly. So it was quite quick for people to be like, okay, well, I've got all the models, let's just go ruin tournaments.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Massive shout out to Gazavol Trades for that host. Really appreciate it. And thank you very much to Ginger Steve for that super chat. It's about to read it to me now. Please use
custom fields instead. Why does Dom look like Mikey if Mikey had a job? Does Dom having a grooming regime he can share with Mikey? The number of a good barber? A comb?
Brilliant. Do you have the YouTube chat up, Dom? Did you see that insult that I've just been sent?
Yeah, I did. And
excellent.
Yeah.
Do you have a comb? A barber?
I do have a barber. It goes to a Turkish place near me. They're fantastic.
See, I went to a Turkish place like a couple of weeks ago, and then Georgie told me off saying that I look stupid with a Turkish haircut, and I thought it looked quite nice.
That's all they do is put back and sides, and then they just cover your beard in oil. And
yes. And they do the Turkish hard beard line, the signature line where it's just like super bold with no hair, and then it's all beard straight down, but it's like a perfect it's like rectangular, It's quite funny.
Yeah.
Mikey's just been using the chain axe as his comb. Have you seen I've got a full-size chain axe?
No. You got a corn axe?
I have it, yeah. Also, I did get Space. Thank you much for what's that? 3 months in a row on Twitch. Really appreciate you, brother. Another excellent Drakari player in the chat, so thank you very much, man. Yeah, 1 second, let me get it. I might have to turn you off on the camera though. But this is a full-size corn chain axe.
What?
Well, I mean, maybe slightly too small, but it's pretty big. That's what she said. What do you reckon?
God, yeah, that's mad.
I reckon you could shave a beard with this. It's very sharp. I opened a pack of biscuits with it the other day. So this is a trophy for our next event. Pardon?
Imagine being hit with one of those.
Yeah, it would be very nice. I mean, this is pretty heavy and it's made of plastic. Imagine if it was made of metal. But also it's very sharp, so imagine if it was actually on. You know, it's hard to say because it's black. I've just realised that's pretty daft. But I hold it in front of my t-shirt. There you go. You can see how big it is. Nowhere.
That looks sharp.
Okay. The axe is scaled down. Mikey is a short boy. No, it's not scaled down. Shut up. Shut up.
My size, I'm like 6'4", so.
Oh, really? Really? I like to think
Big.
I'm 6 foot, but everyone likes to remind me I'm 5'11". Bugle Batrats in the chat says everyone was quick enough to get the Court of the Archons though, because that wasn't a very common unit in the last book.
They were for like guaranteeing like scramblers, and you just take the single Urgle who you just web way in, and you deep strike and you do your scramblers, then you die. But then kind of Art of War kind of like made them great because everyone kind of like glazed over them, but then they were just like they're basically Nurglings but better because they give Lookout Sir and all these like bodyguard rule, and then like, Urgles are just mad. They're like, if you ever get charged by 4 Urgles, just don't take the dice, just pick up your models. Like
what sort of profile do they have?
This single little Urgle. This one's called Schmeichel because it's fun to say.
Schmeichel.
He gets 6 attacks on the charge.
Wow.
Just cause. Like 16 points, 6 attacks.
Like what sort of profile is that? Is like strength 5, -1 or something?
It's really weak. It's like strength 3, like -1, but on 6 it goes to -2. But it's just the way of attacks. They just throw the dice. And then also you got like 4 Slith attacking you at the same time, and they got slightly less attacks but better AP. Yeah. But the whole reason behind like Court of the Archon is that they all stay on an objective and you can't get them off. You just can't, because they got 6 up Finner Pain. Got 5 up Finner Pain, 6 up Invan. Yeah. Like 3 wins each. Durable.
And then Bodyguard if they need it as well, right? I've obviously spoken extensively of how broken Bodyguard is. There's a video on the channel you can go watch right now. And that they don't really use it for that, but it's very handy to have. You know,
it will come to LGT because like I've specifically taken a relic so I can basically not die whilst basically I'm taking an Archon with the Helm of Spite, and he basically just says no to psychic powers, like one a turn. He can just deny on a 4-up, and then the Master takes D3 mortal wounds, which is nice. It's a bit of a deterrent. It's more there to stop warp ritual or lock a warp time. Yeah. And then he'll just stay through it just from a Slith who's behind a wall, and you can't target him. So.
Yeah, that's good. There's a couple of missions. I've been practicing the LGT missions. There's a couple of missions where the objectives are not quite in a building, but there's a building right next to it. So, especially like round 1 of the Invitational, I think it's Overrun. I think that's in the main event as well. Like Overrun on the right, there's a building, and then there's like an objective catchment area that just touches the building, but it's not in the building, which is very annoying. So like Bodyguard is super good for that. You just go, my character's stood there, or in Space Marine's case, my Dreadnought's there or whatever, and you can't do anything about it, which is great.
No, it's mad. Have you see Mission 4, Priority Target? They updated the mission pack.
Oh, really? And
it is like, it's like, I can link you the thing if you want to be super quick.
Gaming 3.5. Is that the right version?
Target, right? You can have your little bodyguard behind there, but there's like people like Salamanders players who are taking the most broken Dreadnought, which is Breath, the Forge one.
The beast.
Yeah. He's amazing, right? But he can just stay in front of the deployment zone with the bodyguard behind the wall, and he just basically can cover the entire middle objective for the entire game.
Let's bring that up on screen. Let's have a look. Yeah. So you mean this one in the bottom left? I mean, you might be able to see.
Yeah. So I can see it. Yeah. So he, like, you can just put Ash Mantle out, like turn 1 or whatever, put him out in front of the middle objective. Have him 3 from the wall, and have behind them have the sorry, forgive me. What's the Space Marine bodyguard unit? The little ones.
The company veterans.
Yeah, have them behind the wall, and then you can't target Breath, and you don't want to charge him because he's got like 2d6.
He's nasty.
Flamers.
It's very nasty.
And there's probably like a repulsor or like aggressors nearby, which can also Overwatch. pretty nasty, but pretty good.
Pretty nasty for sure. It's gonna be interesting. So, we've got quite a few things to talk about as well. But before we do move on, obviously Drukhari are great because you're from Realspace Raiders. You're also part of D6 Evolution, right?
Yeah. So that I'm very new to D6. It's kind of like we're getting back to things after lockdown because just the way things were. They couldn't make videos and everything like this because of like jobs and family life and everything like that. And it just wasn't the right time. So Lewis, who's the co-host on the new talk show that we're doing on there, is he invited me along to join because I was very, very keen to start a YouTube channel or some sort of content other than Drukhari because I love the hobby and I've just got a lot to give. And I'm a Chaos player as well as a Drukhari player, and I've collected every army under the sun.
Excellent.
Since like my first army was Space Wolves, then Nids, then I've had like Gene Cult when they came out. I converted all my Imperial Guards.
We've all been there, mate.
And I've just
the best dust collectors ever.
Yeah, I know.
Shout out to the 4 players taking pure Gene Stealer cults to the LGT. Shout out to those legends. Well done, you. Brilliant. What faction do you main in Chaos?
Emperor's Children and Night Lords.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I've got a massive Night Lords army because at my local gaming club we used to do a lot of apocalypse events. And I've got like a full night. I've got a full. I think it's like 3,000 points of Night Lords. I've got 2,500 points of like Chaos Knights, which was made just in lockdown. So they look good because I had time to paint it.
Yeah, we all did that. we all been there. We all painted new armies.
Children, 3,000 points of that. Then I've got about 5,000 points of demons. I've got a lot of chaos. I've got a lot of love for chaos. I like them most out of all the other armies.
They have one of the best ranges, I think.
Yeah, they really are.
I just wanted to quickly jump in the chat and 1 second. What they say? Someone asked me something. Have you managed to get your army painted, Mikey? I've still got those knights to even start. I have not finished painting. No. Side note, I've just been on a 3-day stag do, so I've done no painting since Thursday, and there's only 3 days to go, and my contemptors are looking very unfinished. Well, one of them is anyway. It's very red and silver, and that's about it.
Great, they look great.
Thank you. I mean, there's 3 days. There's 3 days. Also, hello Neil Kerr. Red cards all round. Neil Kerr, the head judge of the LGT. So thanks for tuning in, buddy. Mr. Yes Meatball says, also shout out to the 4 orc players bringing Squigosaurs, which are banned. Have you seen this? I heard this earlier. So
I didn't see that, no.
So I think in the LGT rules pack, I'm going to try and find it very quickly. So if I miss it or if anyone's looking, then that'd be great. I think they said basically like they're using the orcs because at the time that they're writing this, they had the orc codex wasn't out. But it wasn't out like officially. I found it. It's alright. I got it. It says, as any proxy or conversion must be comparable dimensions to the original model, it is not permissible to proxy or convert any model for which the official model is not yet released, as it would be impossible to verify dimensions of the proxy are adequate. And released is defined as available in stores or online from first-hand sellers the day before the event. So, essentially, since the Squigosaur is only on pre-order of the day of LGT, then everything, basically the Beast Snagger stuff that isn't out yet, isn't allowed at the event because you can't make a proxy of something that doesn't exist because you don't know what size it is. So there's at least 4 players who are getting penalised somehow.
What the hell? What is that? Do they just resubmit the list, or is it a 10-point per game?
I wonder if we had a head LGT judge in chat who is still listening and could answer that question. But that would be very interesting. I'm sure there's something, because I mean, if you submit your list late, you can't win any awards. So I wonder if it'd be like very similar since all the lists are public, so they can have like essentially insider knowledge to go through 591 lists, which would be pretty bad to try and tailor.
That's what you do. There's so many.
Tailor for Necrons. Yeah, so I've actually got some potentially interesting numbers from the LGT we could talk about. Also, Neil, the question was, for the people who submitted a list with models that aren't allowed, such as the Squigosaur, what's the punishment? What penalty will they suffer?
Buying everyone. That's what...
ban them on the door. Do you want to hear some interesting numbers, Dom?
Yeah, I do. Let's go.
So first of all, these numbers were generated by me, and by me I mean I stole them from Liam from Goonhammer on Twitter, and I've got a list of every faction's number. Well, how many of each faction there is. Now the LGT supposedly sold 800 tickets. That was the rumor going around, but there's 591 players who have actually registered. Whether that's people who actually want to go, or whether that's people who have bought tickets and not realised they had to submit a list last week. We don't know. But nearly 600 players is still quite a large event, you know?
It is. It's a very big event.
And a couple of the notable ones are Adeptus Astartes at 69. Nice.
Nice.
Obviously, there's Drakari. Yourself is one of them, being one of 54 players. So you make up nearly 10% of the event. But also, as you say, Necrons. 46 players of Necrons. What the hell?
Yeah. I was really shocked by that. I honestly was thinking of maybe like 15, 20, because like there would still be some Indomitus box people out there, and maybe like just have that, and then lockdown, everyone kind of got an Indomitus box and started like hobbying. So I was expecting a lot of Space Marines, like usual, but I was also not really expecting the Necrons, because I didn't know they were that loved as a faction.
Yeah. And they are like, they're not strong on the face of it, but they are a very strong army played correctly. There's Dick van der Haast from the Netherlands, from Team Netherlands, who's doing really well with them. He's winning a lot of events. And he's a really, really good player. He's also in attendance. But he has like a really skewed list, which isn't very obvious, you know? It's not like Silent King and 60 Warriors that used to do good. It's like very much like what seems like random lists, but in unison they work really well. So they're very much like a weird one. Neil Kerr says, quick answer, they won't be allowed to use the model at the event, so no Squigosaurs, likely get a yellow or red card, nor will they be allowed to change the list.
Whoa!
Oof. F in chat. F in chat for that one. So they've got to play at least 180 points down for those 4 players. Shout out to those 4 players.
Oh, damn.
Well done you. Well done you. You know,
well,
it's a bit of a meme in my chat that like people don't read the rules pack. That's just funny. That's just hilarious.
God, wow. I feel sorry for you guys if you are watching this or watching this later.
Can you imagine the 4 people are actually in chat right now just watching their hearts drop, the stomach sink.
Converted Squigosaurs.
Converted? You mean 3D printed, surely?
Yeah. Well, I'd convert them by going to the fantasy like squig hopper guys.
Yeah. The Mangler squigs look like a good one, because you get like 2 stuck together and then you can split them. But I think they'll be bigger, you know. I think they'll be bigger. Though Zach may overrule me for being mean. Neil K, if you let me back up, I've got your back. I think that's the right thing to do. Or they should just play 180 points down for not reading the rules pack. They'll never not read the rules pack again.
Yeah.
But where were we? Faction numbers. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Like, I think the Necrons being so many, I don't think it's the fact that they're really top tier, because I've had a look through the most notable players that are in the list. I think it is a bit of a starter set effect. You know, everyone's bought an Indomitus box, and Necrons they're not the best faction. They're not bad. They're better than older factions, you know. But what do you think? Do you think Necron's top tier, or do you think it is just the starter set effect where everyone's got them, so everyone's playing them?
They were like, when they got released, they were very, very good at playing against Space Marines.
Yes.
Because they had a lot of bodies that could like walk across the board like before their turn even started. When they could just put 20, 40, 60 warriors in front of you. You get your aggressors and just aggressor them, but then they come back to life and then they crawl towards you, and it was very good to stop Marines from like getting primaries. But that was our lockdown, so we didn't really have that, but you saw a little bit of it in America when they had a few tournaments like popping up, and there was a lot of Necron players, because obviously the Necron, when a codex comes out, everyone wants to play it. So like there's a lot of Thousand Sons players at this tournament, which is a reason, like, because the book's just come out. But it's I don't think they're top tier at all. I think they're mid tier. In a good player, a good player can make them like scratch the top tier armies. And if like it's just like any army, if you've got a good player behind them, you're going to cause problems for other people who maybe are playing like a top tier like Drakari list, who are new to the army because either they're meta chasing or they just haven't had time with the army.
Yeah, I agree. It's quite interesting. Again, I mean, ultimately, we'll have to see. I mean, if there's 20 players all on 5-0 and they're all playing Necrons, maybe we need to really look at their list and find out what they're doing. But
we're gonna nerf them.
Yeah, don't do well with Necrons. They're already struggling. Just do really bad with them to show how bad they are, so they don't get nerfed. But yeah, there is quite a lot of Thousand Sons and Grey Knights. 30,000 Sons, 29 Grey Knight players. I've got some even more interesting stats. With those 30,000 Sons, there's 22 Infernal Masters. So only 8 lists don't have one. And now I don't know if they've got multiple Infernal Masters, because this document is awful to work with. But there's only 8 without the Infernal Master. Do you know what the Infernal Master does, Dom?
I do. He's pretty good, but if anyone else doesn't know, he's basically like the what is it? It's not the apothecary, is it?
The chaplain. The chaplain.
So Drakari
does. Yeah, they don't get. Yeah, Drakari don't get any of that fun. So essentially, they can do buffs at the start of the command phase. Like the main one, hey, thanks to the host, too many sprues. The main one is like +1 strength on a ranged weapon or from a unit, or all ranged weapons on a unit, which is like super good. I also found out that Drazar, which is more in your area of field, Drazar is in 44 out of 54 lists. How do you feel about that?
He's an absolute beast. He's my warlord. Like there's not really, I don't think, a model that can really tank his like damage output, especially with his warlord trait, because his warlord trait allows him to re-roll all of his hits and wounds.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He is a monster. Going back quickly to Thousand Sons, like I'm pleased that not all of them are taking the new models, and it'll be because that just shows you that there is actually some other builds that than just like Curry have, just like spamming Drazar.
Drazar is a crutch, and we all know it, says Gumbelina in chat.
He's just a heat-seeking missile, just like, oh, you see that over there? Just go deal with it for me.
Yeah.
Hope you get.
I think what's interesting is there's 44 people playing from Drazar out of 54 people. What are the other 10 people doing? Why don't they have Drazar?
They could. Well, I
should, yeah.
Yeah. But
Confurioso says they're just having fun.
They're having fun, but what they're doing is they're probably taking double succubus, which is probably better if I'm honest.
You reckon?
Because I mean, they're gonna get nerfed probably after this event anyway, but like they're way too cheap for what they do. And yes, you have to put CP and relics to make them good, but they're worth it. Like 2 CP, like to give someone a succubus a warlord trait which does mortal wounds on 6s.
Yeah.
To hit equivalent to your damage. So in Red Grief, there's a relic which is a flat 3 damage weapon. On every 6, it's flat 3 mortal wounds.
Ouch.
Yeah, for 60 points.
Yeah. Yeah,
Madness.
Pretty horrific. Well, 60 points in 2 CP at best.
Yeah. Or 3 if you make it your warlord. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Whoa, 9 subs. 3
there
subs.
we go. Jim Martin, thank you very much for the 9 months in a row. Oh, we've just been gifted some subs. No, we haven't. It's a prime. 9 months. There we go. Twitch baby time. What are you going to call it, man? You did it. You can decide. I've got too many to think of any new names. Thank you very much for the 9 months. Really appreciate it, buddy. Really appreciate it. So that's quite interesting. Again, as a lot of people are saying, like Realspace raid, maybe they can't fit Drazar in, but can he not just drop into any detachment?
Yeah, so I ran for 4 tournaments, a Realspace raid, and then Drazar as a patrol, because I personally think he's too good not to bring. For 145 points, you can basically go toe to toe with anything. Yeah. And there's not much in any codex that can do that, even without a warlord trait. He's just amazing. But like people who don't bring him will be teching into other things that can make their armies good, like double succubus or maybe double archon, to abuse the Urgles, which was I think's a mistake.
Now what's interesting is you can actually take, I've checked the FAQ, you can take the Blackstone Fortress Urgle as a data sheet, and that's just 1 Urgle on its own, right? Whereas Court of the Archon is multiple, is that right? Or have I been mistaken?
Yeah, you're right there, and I've abused that with my list as well. I thought, if they're rolling this, cool, I'm just going to take 2 single Urgles, which also, with the Blackstone Fortress, have a 5-up invuln. So
they're just straight up better. A better save.
And
one model, so you can deep strike it anywhere and scramble or retrieve whatever data, and you get a better save. It's just like stonks.
Yeah. Cheaper.
It's what? Sorry.
1 point cheaper.
Well, that's just great. Well, that's just great for all the Drakari players. I think that might be the only reason they're doing so well is because of that 15-point Urgle.
I would like to know how many people are taking that, because it is like I was talking to Ben Jones about this, and who's like one of the best Drakari players in the UK, and he is fully on the bandwagon of yes, because they've allowed us to use it. Just use it, because I wasn't using it because I thought it was a bit of a bend of the rules.
Yeah, I think it is, but when you're playing pure rules as written, as the LGT would like to, as far as they can, where everyone's on the same page, which is kind of like what you want in a competitive event, then that's just how it is, It's like whatever rule you can get, you have to use, because someone else is probably going to use it against you. So yeah, which is like the good and bad thing about this. So Blackstone, it comes up as Blackstone in your list. If I search Blackstone,
I can send you the Wahapedia version if you want a Wahapedia.
Yeah. There's 2 lists that have it. That's what supposedly. If they've used Battlescribe, that's how it'd show up. I don't know how it'd show up if they didn't use Battlescribe.
You edit it yourself, because my Battlescribe gone up with it. So I know 4 people that at least are taking. So I'm pretty sure it's
search Urgle. How do they write Urgle?
Urgle's spelled really weirdly. It's like
GHU.
Yeah.
So 26 Urgles. 26 lists that contain Urgle. Yeah, because so there's one here, like Let's Go Talos, which we might talk about in a bit, that just says Court of the Archon 15 points Urgle, which obviously is the Blackstone one. Yeah. So you just would though, wouldn't you? Because it's a point cheaper. Why would you not? That just makes sense.
They're different though, because the Codex one gets a 5-up Pain and a 6-up invuln, when this one gets a 5-up invuln. But you're only taking these 2 Urgle to guarantee you. Well, if you're taking engage, it'll guarantee you 15 points in engage and it also guarantee you 12 points on rod. And then you can spend the rest of the game getting the rest of the, on average, 50 points for you to win a game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Neil in chat just said LGT is raw unless something clearly breaks the game. The Blackstone Fortress Urgle doesn't break the game. I don't think it does. He's just a nice little, annoying little shit scumbag that's just like there, you know. 15 points, 25 mil base, deep strike anywhere it likes because you can't stop. There they are, look. 30 points. At least you got the proper models for him. I'll let you off.
Yeah. I do for them.
Yeah, exactly. So that's quite interesting. So 26 of the 54 lists have Urgles, which is quite interesting. What was another one that I thought was cool? So obviously we spoke about Thousand Suns, 22 Infernal Masters. Guess how many Grey Knight lists have Dread Knights? Bearing in mind, there are 29 Grey Knight players.
29 have to have them. Yeah. Every single one.
Well, it was actually a trick question because there's 31 lists with Dread Knight, because 29 of them are Grey Knights and the other 2 are Imperium mixed, which I thought was interesting as well. People mixing Grey Knights.
Well, so yeah, strong.
Yeah, exactly. So every Grey Knight list has some sort of Dread Knight in it because it's just like an auto take because it's so cheap, right? Again, sadly we can't search for like individual units, so I'm only really looking at like how many lists have them rather than like how many there are at the event. I think how many there are at the event, we probably just times everything by 3 for all these units we're going to talk about, except for maybe 1 or maybe 2. But I thought that was really interesting, you know, because I've also pulled out like there's actually 2 lists with Land Raiders.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're both Chaos. One of them is Chaos Space Marines, the other one is Death Guard, which I don't know why you're running a Land Raider into Death Guard, but fair play.
Spent so long in lockdown converting that. That's why.
I reckon so.
Yeah. Love that.
Another one, obviously, with lots of Orc players, some of them being illegal, but 20 of the 33 lists have some form of Rucker Truck Squig Bucky as well, which is obviously, you know how bad these are. I've seen you post about these before. What do you reckon to Squig Buckies? Do you like them?
Oh my god! Like I was talking about this on the Let's Talk like 40k show with Lewis on D6, and they're a real problem because they should not be as cheap and as durable and as nasty in combat as they are. They just shouldn't be, because like your first thought is, oh, okay, cool. So they're with a blast, so I'll just tag them with a unit.
Yeah.
Nah, because they can pull out combat, and then I'm like, witches, which can stop you doing that. And then they go, aha, well I have like damage 2 -2 weapons in combat, and I get like 6 attacks.
Yeah. Don't they hit on like 5s or 4s in combat or something daft as well?
Yeah, and like they're really killy, so you can't even just tag them with like a couple of raiders to block them actually getting out of combat. That they will just kill the raider. They're pretty nasty, but the worst thing about them is I'm sure everyone knows what they are, but I'll just repeat it. But they're the new orcs. They're not new. They're just the new and improved, very cheap. I think they're 90 points.
Yeah, they feel new because no one ran them in the last book because they were the worst option of these buggies, which were all bad.
Yeah.
So even skew lists weren't running them because they were so bad. But now they are the hotness. Glarg in chat, thank you very much for this info. There are 208 orc buggies in the event, and 88 of them are squig buggies.
Oh, of course they are.
So each one, I think, gets 3d6 out of line of sight shooting.
Yeah, so it's 3d6, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. Blast, of course, it's blast because
screw you, hordes.
Yeah,
it makes sense, but screw you, hordes.
Answer this: why do they have 9 wounds?
That is a great question that someone knows the answer to, and it probably comes down to selling more models.
So 10 point a wound, right? And then they get 3d6, strength 5, -2, 2 damage attacks. And then their saw blades, the strength Strength 7 -2, 2 damage.
Yeah, 2 damage, everyone. Because what orcs need is to be anti-space marine and everything else in the game.
And I think they got ramshackle as well, so they're -1 damage.
Yeah, they do have ramshackles. I think every vehicle, including all the Forge stuff, I think one of the squig-offs got it as well. They got ramshackle, so ramshackle being a wide rule that used to be rubbish, and now it's just -1 damage, which is great. To a point where I almost took Thousand Suns because of the squig buggy list. Because Thousand Suns have a relic where they ignore all hit, wound, save, and damage modifiers to a single unit that you choose every turn. So, and it's to all core units within 6 benefit from it. So you can just have like Thousand Suns, and you can take, you know, Volkite Contemptors, you know, because why not? And they all stay damage 2 against the buggies, which is quite funny because that's their one thing they have going. It's -1 damage. So,
yeah.
And then when you and it's also good in the mirror match because obviously Dreadnoughts are -1 damage as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a good counter, but what if you don't play orcs?
I mean, then you got 3 Volkites. I mean, you've won anyway. Also, hello Valrak in chat. Why hasn't Mikey invited me on his show? Is it because I beat him and Elliot and remain undefeated? I think Valrak's lost about 15 games of Warhammer and he still claims he's undefeated, which is quite funny. I've not invited you on the show, Valrak, because I just feel like you'll insult me for 2 hours. So I invite nice people like Dom from Realspace Radio Podcast who say nice things. You should try it sometime, Valrak. You should be nice to people. Also, you got no idea how to play Warhammer, so I feel like we won't have much to talk about.
Is he going to LGT?
I don't think he is. He is coming to my tournament though, which is on the 9th and 10th of October, so that's only a couple of weeks away. So I think that's his first tournament he's ever been to that's not a TVT. So, which is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing him. And I think there's a couple of tickets left if you are interested. There's a link down in the description if you want to buy one. Okay, so more interesting stats. There are 37 sisters lists. How many more than Vals is there? The clock is ticking.
Go on then. I'll say 20, because there'll be some people who don't have them.
You were right. There are some people, but there are only 5 who don't. There's 32 more than Vals in the 37 lists.
They're a problem. They're real sleepers, and because the meta has kind of changed recently, well, for the terrain, their sisters are a real problem for a lot of people, and especially like the way Jakara have kind of answered the LGT terrain call, which is basically which is okay. Like I don't mind that the terrain has changed, because you shouldn't be able to hide 100% of your army turn 1, because otherwise it's not a game. But like you should be able to hide most of it. But what I'm talking about, guys, is basically Jakari can't hide raiders.
Yeah.
At LGT. There's a spot on every board where you can hide 2, and that is the limit, because you can get to the sides with drop pods, or you can with some flies you can get behind them, but it's at 2. There's only enough room for 2, and that's behind the obscuring terrain. And because all the other bits of terrain have no windows, and because the sail of a raider is taller than the ruin and also counts as the hull of the vehicle, you can shoot it. So there's a problem. It's a problem for the raider rush, which was, you know, like stomping a lot of tournaments. But you know what? It's made a lot of Jakari players kind of open their eyes up a bit to not just playing the same thing over and over again. And so you're going to see a lot of Talos, you're going to see a lot of Kronos because they can hide, and you're going to see a lot of Reavers.
Yeah, exactly. So for those at home who don't know, I've just sent a link in chat to the rules pack. But essentially, this is like an example table for Mission 1, Scorched Earth. Now you've got 2 large L shapes in the middle, and these are massive and they're obscuring. And then in opposite corners, so top right and bottom left, you've got 2 ruins which are quite tall. They have windows in, but they are obscuring. Whereas the other 2 L's, the one in the middle and one to the right of each deployment zone, is only about 3 inches, maybe 3.5 inches high. So it doesn't have obscuring. So when you sit a raider behind one, then you can just see it because it's so tall because of the sail. So anything that's like on a really large a high base or quite tall. Also, Weight of Mind, thank you very much for the 2 months. Really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Click subscribe right now. It's September. So any vehicle that's quite tall, or like Drakari Raiders, with obviously, as you mentioned, the sails being so massive, unless you're going to snap them off, which I think if you do try and snap them off, you'll be told off for modelling for advantage. You can't hide. You can't hide behind them. So you can hide, as you say, like 2 behind the bottom left ruin. That's about it, really. Which is quite harsh, but also, as you say, like, we can't, if we play in a game, we can't really, like, hide our entire army all the time on every board.
No.
You know?
No.
It's interesting.
I think it's fine though, personally. Like when I first saw it, I was just like, I ever messaged you and I was like, is this really the ruling?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And I was like, oh no, my rating is like, God, what am I gonna do? Then I kind of sat down for like 10 minutes. I was like, oh, the rest of the book is great. This is good. I'm okay. I'm okay.
For sure. Because obviously Raiders are super high. They're like really highly efficient, you know.
They're very efficient, very very efficient. And they can transport so much. And Venom's only like 20 points or less, 15 points cheaper, but they have half the amount of people in them, and they're less wounds. And but LGT can hide them everywhere. So
yeah,
they're probably going to be used quite a lot. I know one of our Realspace Raider hosts is running a few of them.
So I think that's what the thing when you do know the terrain going into a tournament. Like, I speak about like terrain layouts all the time, and I think it's like super interesting, and I think a lot of people like don't realize how important it is, and like how important it is to analyze the terrain before you go to a tournament until you're there and you're like, wait a minute, I've brought 10 Raiders, I can only hide 2, and I've just lost 8 in my first turn. How could I have stopped this? And then I go, hey, remember that video I did 3 weeks ago where I said the terrain was like this, so you can't do it? Then, you know, people get caught off guard with it, you know, it's quite interesting. But I think analysing terrain is super important. I think what you see with a lot of lists, a lot of the meta lists, as you say, we're going to talk about the Drakari lists that are going. A lot of Drakari lists have like flipped Talos and Kronos, which are still excellent. Little different weapons now, but they're still really good units. But they can hide in the terrain. And also like Contemptors and stuff like that, which are already really good, they can hide in the terrain as well, because they're not tall enough. And then other units that you might see that you might think, I wonder why they've taken that, not this, might be purely for that reason, where they could be like, okay, well, I can use the other terrain for this big model, but everything else can hide in the tiny terrain, which is quite interesting, you know? So
yeah, totally.
It's quite interesting that like you have your Relic Contemptor sat in the building, but then you put like an Invicta Warsuit down, and the aerials stick out the top of the terrain, which is so annoying. And I'm like, I'm not going to snap them off. I'm not going to snap them. I really want to. I'm not going to snap them off. I'm not like that. But it's just like they stick out just enough where you'd be like, is that part of the hull? Is it? Yeah. Can you just not? Can you just not? Do I just not tell my... Right, if you play me and someone says, I can see your antenna, I'm going to be like, right, shut up.
Because it's like my friend Steve, he's running Salamanders, and he's bringing a repulsor. I think it might be the repulsor executioner.
Yeah.
And you can hide them behind the terrain until you see the antenna, and then you can't.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So I remember I had a few practice games like last year or the year before, and that was it. The antenna was sticking up, which is very annoying. What was someone saying? I think I just missed something. No, I think I missed it. Well, we were talking about More Than Val though, weren't we? And how you have like a murder of like a bullet of Drazar. You know? I think More Than Val kind of sits in that same bracket, because she also has a war trait that rerolls all hits and wounds, and she's like strength 8, and she's like 3 damage.
Yeah, and they backup of the miracle dice, so if they need that 6 to charge, or if they need that 6 on damage, they can get it. But also the thing that Drazar can't do that she can abuse the bodyguard rule with all those shield maidens, or whatever they're called. Shield maidens, the
shield maidens, the Celestian Sacrisants.
That's the one. Yeah, just like, it's amazing. And like the video you did the other day where you were showing what you can abuse with Celestine, you can do that with More Than Val. So
yeah, Yeah, exactly. I mean, Celestine's a little bit interesting because she's obviously a character unit, which you don't get very often. But again, you can stretch her out like 13.5 or 14 inches from a wall, and you still can't shoot her, which is just daft. Which is just crazy.
Yeah.
Now,
Does
I
she
think.
still come back?
Pardon?
Does she still like revive herself?
She does on a 2+.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
And she comes back on all her remaining wound. And wound singular, but all her remaining wound. Because they've not FAQ'd that yet. So, I think it's supposed to be all her remaining wounds. Or like all her remaining wounds, I don't know. But people are like arguing, does it come back on 1? Does she come back on like 6 or however many she is? I don't know.
How would you call it as a tier?
I said full. Yeah. It's the way it's worded, it sounds like it should be full. They just missed the S rather than changing the entire sentence.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Speaking of Celestine, she's in 30 of the 37 lists. So I imagine in all of those lists, there's also bodyguards so they can all string out. Which is really good because she can heroically intervene 6 inches, right? So you can like sit her on an objective. You can't shoot her because the bodyguards are sat behind a wall, as we mentioned. And then she can just be like, oh, do you want to come a little bit closer? Because I can intervene to you, you know? If you're just anywhere near the objective, not even on it.
Okay.
Which is hilarious. I think probably the worst one, the one I've seen the most, which is going to be quite obvious, we mentioned it already. There's 249 potential power armor lists. So that's Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines. So they make up half the event, almost to the perfect amount, you know.
Wow.
And 47 of them have Relic Contemptors. And I'm pretty sure most of them are Space Marine players. Now, I don't know how many Iron Hands players there are, so I'm about to find out. 13 Iron Hands, which is a lot less than I thought.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah. But 47 Relic Contemptors in lists. I don't know how many that is. Again, it's probably about 100 Relic Contemptors. Twin Volkite Culverin shows up.
Yeah.
A lot more than I thought. Don't know if that's right.
Because they could be in. Could be in. Because Lewis takes the Volkites on the the Moriacs, and they also can take. He takes them on the Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts for.
That makes sense.
But it's chaos rather than with action.
Yeah, for sure. Geeks Wargaming, thank you very much for the Prime. Really appreciate it. How you doing, buddy? Thank you very much for that Prime. It's Prime at night if you got Amazon Prime. Use it today. So I don't know how many Volkite Culverins there are, but there's probably quite a lot. I think it said about 80, but that it could include knights as well.
Yeah, very, very, very good into Drakari, and probably quite good into a lot of armies, to be fair.
They're very, as we mentioned, like except for against other dreadnoughts, they're good in Marine mirror matches because of the 2 damage. The mortal wounds also help out, so even if you are -1 damage, you've just got so many dice. It's ridiculous.
Tell you what, they're not good into, and that is Talos.
They're not so great as a Talos. Again, mortal wounds.
Nah, so we got a 3-up save, tough at 7, yeah, and we got 5 up Finno Pain, and we're -1 damage.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, to be fair. Do you reckon Talos are the next meta to defeat the Volkite menace?
I mean, Volkites won't really have a chance against like a -1 damage like Coven list. So my advice, if you're facing that, just shoot other things. Like just won't do any damage to the Talos at all, especially as the Homunculus just goes flat 3 wounds back every turn. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, they're very tanky Talos, and yeah, if they're in the list, they're in there to just basically soak up a load of wounds. Yeah, and then they're going to have Heat Lancers, which are they strength 8 -4 d6 +2 damage.
Nice. Is that for all range? So basically like a long range melter gun.
Yep, and gets reroll 1s because of the Archon if they're nearby, because it's a Realspace raid.
Nice.
Talos core.
Of course. Well, they're basically, I see them as the Dreadnoughts of Drakari, right?
Yeah, that dreadnought units, and when they go into combat, they do D3 mortal wounds with a Ichor injector, and they're usually kicked out with flat 3 damage combat weapons, so they're pretty tasty. Pretty tasty.
Pretty tasty. Okay, shall we talk about some Drakari lists?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, go on. Shall we talk about some actual LGT lists? We've talked about a bunch of what's in the event, but let's have a look at like some actual LGT lists. Now, we've had to copy and paste them outside of the actual document because, again, it's terrible to look at. But chat to Master Varak, thank you very much for subscribing for 7 months in a row over on Twitch. Hell yeah, gamer. Really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for that. Thanks, mate. I will have to get you on the show sometime. But yeah. Max 18-inch on Heat Lancers. Are they only 18-inch range? Or are they quite short range and that's movement as well?
Let me just double check because I don't want to say it. There we go. So Heat Lance 18-inch range, but Talos move 8.
That's not too bad then.
Especially as turn 1 though, they would have advanced. So.
Yeah.
From cover to cover, so you can't see them.
Excellent. Obviously, have Drakari still got Fire and Fade? Or is that gone now?
Never stationary, and it's 2 CP.
Okay, still good though. So you can shoot and then move into terrain again.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. Because it's 7-inch move.
Nice. Okay, let's talk about your list then. So obviously you are one of the 54. You should get on a t-shirt, one of the 54.
One of the 54.
Dom, tell me about your list. Obviously you are a Drakari player at heart. Sometimes Chaos, but obviously Realspace Raiders will shout at you otherwise. So tell me what you're bringing, buddy, and why you brought it.
Okay, so I'm taking a triple patrol because my usual list, which was like a Raider rush with Realspace Raid, I purely just did it because I like the rerolls, and it was Realspace Raid, and I see that as them naming it after us. So that's why.
Wow, is that the rule? If you're part of the podcast, you have to take a Realspace Raid.
George is taking Realspace Raid, so he's on the bandwagon too. But I'm not taking Realspace Raid for this GT. I'm taking Triple Patrol. So
you're gonna get kicked out next week, mate. There's gonna be like a big document that's just like, we have had to kick Dom from Realspace Raiders because he wasn't actually a Realspace Raider all day, all weekend.
No, exactly. So we're kicking it off with a Dark Technomancer's detachment, and my name on the podcast is Dark Techno Dom. It's because in 8th, I just used to run Dark Technomancers, and that's all I used to do because it was broken and nobody used to use it. And then in the new codex, people were like, "Oh my god, Dark Technomancers are so broken!" And I know because I read it all year. So I'm running that with. Here's a funny thing with an Archon, who is from a Cabal. So you basically with Drakari, you can run like Cabal in Coven units, but they lose their obsession. The detachment doesn't lose the obsession. It's just the units that go in there from a different Cabal or Witch cult, they actually lose their obsession. So my Archon has no Black Heart or anything like that, so he's got no benefits. But what he does do, he has a relic called the Helm of Spite, which is basically an anti-psyker relic. So I can basically stop Warp Ritual. I can stop all these different psychic powers that you can come across, and it's going to be useful considering his job will be to babysit objectives until psychers come to midboard, and then he'll just be annoying you. And yeah, exactly. And he's got a 2+ poison venom blade, so he can still scratch you a bit in combat, which is -1 AP. But he doesn't die. He's got a 2-up in run. So he will just stay on objective with his Sliff, which we'll get into in a minute. And it's a big, basically a quarter of the Archon just sits at the back of the board with my Archon, and he just kind of just sits there just being annoying because you don't really go near him because he's quite good in combat, and the Sliff are very good in combat as well. Then I've got, because of him, in the Dark Technomancer detachment, I was able to bring the Blackstone Fortress Urgle.
There they are.
I can bring 2 of them. So that's these 2 on the screen now. You can't see them looking at your list, but it's basically just two Urgle. And what they do is they come in from Deep Strike or reserves, and they they just score me, engage in all fronts, or they drop down and do scramblers.
Because they're infantry, aren't they, as well?
Yep, so they can come down and go, done my job, then I'll just annoy you by, if you don't kill me, I'll just like walk up to something and just touch it.
Nice.
So that's one of those. So I've got 2 of them, which was fun to have, and I'm just using them for this tournament, just because I can, and they're very useful. They're very cheap. So then I've got a warlord who's Drazar,
Nice.
master of, and he with his warlord trait is just an absolute menace. And if you're on a table with him, avoid him at all costs, because he'll even stuff, even your precious dreadnoughts or anything like that with a -1 damage. He's an absolute.
He's still flat 2 damage into them.
Yeah, but 6 is flat 3, so
yeah,
he's mad good. He's mad good.
Nice.
So now I just got troops, which is just some racks. They just sit on an objective, doing absolutely nothing, or move blocking you, or just tagging you, something like that. Then I've got some incubi, and this is something that a lot of people I've noticed, for the Drukhari people who may be watching. I hope you checked your list, because your Clavex, which is the sergeant for the Drukhari incubi, there's a free option to take a demi-clave, and what it is basically 2 extra attacks for your sergeant, but you -1 AP to your attacks, but it's still the same damage output.
Interesting.
Almost all the lists I've seen have forgotten to change that. So all of them have a weapon, which is still amazing. It's still an amazing weapon, but it's just not as good. Like it's a free upgrade to get 2 extra attacks. It's just great. Now the big boys. These are Chronos. Not really seen much, but in America they're really cleaning up tournaments at the moment, and they're super tough to deal with, and they're a bit of a black hole. You shoot into it and not much comes out. They're 7 wounds each. They're toughness 6. They got a 3+ armor save. So Volkites, I'm still going to get you 3 up armor save against you. Yeah. And they've got a 5 up Finna Pain.
Nice.
But the thing that's nice about them is when they kill a unit, there's a stratagem for 1 CP, and you can buff a unit nearby, and you can it's a unit that's within 6, either gets the full power from pain, so they gives them a 5 pin bun straight away.
Nice.
And they could also do it to themselves, which would be nice.
Yeah.
But they're also basically apothecaries. And if, say, I lose one of them in the shooting phase, if none of the other Kronos are wounded, and I kill somebody in combat, I can bring a whole Kronos back to life. So late game, super clutch.
Quite cheap as well, 70 points each.
Yeah, and all they have is a flamer, so don't charge them, because it's with it's strength 5, -2, flat 2 damage. On 6s it's flat 3.
Wow.
Yeah, a D6, 12-inch range, which is nice. There's a 10-point upgrade to have an additional flamer, but you have to roll to hit. It's not really. It is worth it because it is an exact same profile, but slightly longer range. But if you roll a 1 to hit, it's D3 mortal wounds.
Wow.
So
okay.
You're negating the later game when you got like 3 models which are wounded. It's a weird one. You can have like 3. If all 3 of your Kronos wound themselves, it's one of the
interesting
that has multiple wounded unit models. But the tech behind it is, as long as none of them are wounded, you can bring back a whole Kronos, or like in with Space Marine Apothecaries, you can regen a wound to something.
Yeah, something. For sure. So you have to heal them first, and then they get back up.
Yeah, which makes it look slightly less broken. But
so you don't want to take the mortal wound, the accidental mortal wound flamer, because you want to keep them all perfect, so you don't have to heal them first.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Okay. And they advance and still fire their weapons. They move 8. They got fly. They're very good. So then we go to the second detachment, which is the Strife, which is
murder buckets.
Yeah, this is basically the detachment which makes every Drukhari list, because it's the buff that they got in that new book is fantastic.
It's phenomenal, honestly.
They're the only stratagems I use. It's 2 CP to reroll all wounds.
Yeah.
Ugh. like for instance, so I've got like a succubus with, so she gets 6 base,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got a drug to give her 7 attacks, so that's an
Nice.
extra attack. Then she's got the triptych whip, gives an extra couple of attacks.
Yeah.
Each time she attacks on a roll of a 6 plus to hit, it's flat 2 mortal wounds with her warlord trait, because her weapon is 2 plus poison, -3, flat 2 damage.
Nice.
So she's picking up a lot of stuff, and she's only how many points? 60.
60 points. Yeah. Just a quick one before we carry on. Gumberlini says the Dark Technomancy Immortal says the bearer's unit take them, not the bearer, so cannot have multiple wounded models.
Cool. I'm not taking that, so that's fine.
But, I mean, yeah. But if you are taking it, there you go. So it kind of makes more sense, but otherwise that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah. So then I've got 5 witches. They just go in there. They're basically just there to ignore Overwatch or jump on objectives or do rod. That unit there still gets that 5-person unit just still gets 5 attacks per witch, which is nuts.
Yeah.
A lot of
so many attacks. 25, 26 attacks because of the Hecatrix gets an extra one, right?
Yep, and then then I can just pop 2 CP to reroll wounds, and they actually do work, which is nice.
Yeah.
Then we've got big unit of witches with +1 strength. They're strength 4, so it makes just the 2 CP to reroll wounds really tasty, because instead of 5s, instead of 6s and things, it can be 5s and things. Yeah. And it's just a bucket load of attacks. They still get 4 attacks each. Yeah. Which is really nice. I've got some mandrakes to stop drop pods coming down and kind of keep people away if I don't want them as close turn 1. And they're also really good because they got a one use only. So never leave a mandrake squad alive by themselves, because what they can do is they can go up into the sky for no CP or anything. It's just what they do once per game. Go up into deep strike. Next turn they go down, and then they'll rod. So very frustrating. Then I've got 2 units of 5 Hellions. So these are my MVPs because they're infantry, so they can do actions.
Yeah, they are. They're so fast, and the fact that they retain the infantry keyword is bonkers. I played against 2 units of 9 of these doing the same thing. Yeah.
So, and the best thing about them, they can pull out of combat and act as normal, which is nice. They also have stratagems like Eviscerate and Flyby. So I've kept it to 5 per unit, so I can just spend 1 CP and do it, which is on 4 plus an infantry. It's mortal wounds when we fly over, and only 1 model has to fly over, and the whole unit gets it, which is nice. So I give them 1 +1 attack, and then 1 is random drugs, because I actually don't think any buff is bad for them.
Nice.
Last detachment, which is Blackheart detachment. Nice. This is the big core. This is what you usually see with the Urgles. So usually people go max out and go 4 Slith 4 Urgle. I disagree with that, because you got to have a Lamian, because she makes them leadership 8, not leadership 6.
Oh, so okay. How many points is she on her own? Because obviously it doesn't say on here. 16. 16 as well. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the Slith that are 18, the Urgles are 16. And yeah, literally, all she does is make them leadership 8, which is fantastic, and Blackheart leadership 9.
Nice. So they'd be even worse to kill.
Yeah, so if you see Court the Archon and they don't have a Lamian, they're kill 2, they're leadership 4. So people think, but they each the Urgle and Slith are 3 wounds and the 5 Finna Pain. But here's the tech on my list, Mikey. So I can use that strat to give someone the full power from pain, which is ignore leadership, ignore morale, and also 5 pin bun. So if they're near and they kill someone next to the Coronos, I just go bang.
There enjoy.
And you the 5 up finna, 3 ups, 4 up save, 5 up in bun, 5 up finna pain. Yuck.
Nice. That's cool. Very nasty. It just keeps around for longer. You get to play with Bodyguard again, and it's just like a big. And obviously these are good for to the last, right? If you wanted to go that way. I don't know if you'll be using to the last. I'm not sure what your second most expensive unit is, because obviously you got Drazar.
Yeah, it's Drazar and the Kronos. They're the two last.
Yeah, which is going to be quite good because people don't want to shoot Kronos because they're just annoying to kill.
They're very horrible. I literally play tested a game the other day, and someone put two Volkite Contemptors and a Redemptor with the plasma into the one unit of Kronos and killed one and put a single wound on another Kronos.
Oh, wonderful.
Shows you how durable they are. So then I've got my Archon. So he's got an Ancient Evil Warlord trait, which is fight. He makes you fight last, which is a very nice ability. And obviously, all Incubi and Drazar make you roll on the leadership to make you fight last. And I've got in my list, I've got redundancies to make you -2 to your leadership, so you should be fighting last. Then he's got I call it the Dijon Mustard Blade, but it's the Jim Blade. A lot of Americans don't get the reference, but I like that. So yeah, he spends Genius, so he's got a once ability, once per game ability where he can fight again, which is great because he's flat 3 damage in combat, which is nice. And he's more of a scare tactic than anything else. A lot of people take him with the Eternal Hatred, so he can reroll all hits and all wounds. But if I'm honest, I want it on Drazar, so Drazar can do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So then Bare Bones Cavalry Squad, just to score me rod or just tag you or move block you, all these sorts of things. And then I've got 2 squads of Incubi.
Nice.
And they are just Incubi. They just do what they want. Near Drazar.
Things. +1 to wound, which is really nice. Got a Witch Cult Reaver unit in my Cabal.
Absolute psychopath.
What they do is they lose their obsessions. They have no obsession, but what they are is that with Painbringer, they're toughness 5, and I think they've got 4 up save normally, so they get a 3 up save and cover. But what they do is they score me engage and they tag units you don't want me to tag because they get an 8-inch advance. So turn 2, they go 26 inches, something like that, which is nasty. And they've got a really big profile with how long they are, so they can move block a lot of people. So you don't even, you could tag stuff but then move block it in, or you can. They're just very a utility unit, and they're just a very good.
Yeah, and obviously because you're running patrols, you can't put them in the Witch Cult detachment because of the 2 aliens. But these guys don't really need it; they're just there to be annoying rather than do damage.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't do damage. Like they've I think they've got 3 attacks each, -1 AP. Not really going to do much. And with the drugs, you can buff them up, but with toughness 5, 3 up saving or 4 up saving cover, they're just durable because they've got 2 wins each. Nice. Then only 3 raiders, Mikey. Only 3 raiders. Because I can efficiently hide 2. I can't efficiently hide the 3rd. Hence why only 2 have Grizzly trophies.
Makes sense.
And what the Grizzly trophies do, they -2 to your leadership. You think how big a raider is in profile? They're very long. So what I can do, I can spread that -1 leadership aura around, just to really make sure all my Incubi are making you fight last, because I've got my fight last in Archon. I've got 3 Incubi that can make you fight last in your leadership, and then I've got Drazar who can do the same. Nice. And then I've got Dark Lancers. That's just Dark Lancers. We have them for free because we're great.
Yeah.
And then a Venom, because a Venom can hide in the cover, which in the terrain, which is fantastic. And just so. It's also good bookkeeping as well, because my Incubi are the only ones that can't get buffed by my Archon with the rerolls. The Incubi that are in the Dark Tentamaster detachment, they're the only unit that's going to be in the Venom. So no one can really, be like, oh, were they which ones are they? Everyone knows, and it's good because it's good. Everyone's aware of what's going on. When you're playing, because you don't want any gotchas, you want everyone to have a level playing field, despite the army difference.
Nice. It seems like a really cool. It's very toolboxy compared to just spamming all of the best units, as you say. Can't take loads of raiders. So, are there many matchups that you're interested or worried about playing, or do you feel quite confident into everything, or are you not really sure yet?
Admech will be a hard one because they can wound the Kronos easier than a lot of armies. I'm not too sure how that would go, but I mean the Flamers could do a lot of work. The Witches can pick up whole units of Vanguard, which is fine. And we ignore Overwatch for 1 CP, which is great. I'd like to see how I would do against like the new Thousand Suns with their mortal wound spam, because obviously they go straight through the armor save and the toughness, and they can just go straight to the Feeling of Pain. And with the Thousand Suns being able to just splash like 9 mortal wounds onto something, it's quite a hard. I'm not like I can get into the troops quite easily. It's just the payback is especially with the soul, if people are spamming the Reaper cannons. The Soul Reapers. There's a lot of shots. Yeah, because just spamming lots of shots is hardcore against us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to ask you about something. I think something came up, but I might have missed it. And I tried scrolling back, and I can't remember where it went. George is in chat, and he says, "I've never seen a Shadow Field work, and I've been playing Drakari for over a decade."
He fails everyone.
Yeah, it's every one of those. It's like when you don't need to fail, it fails, and then when you really need it to not fail, it also fails because you really need it to. There's nothing worse. A lot of people say in the chat saying it's mad that Hellions aren't bikers, but Hellions are like Drakari Vanguard vets. That's why they're not bikes. I do think they fit in like a weird role where like. Should they be infantry? Maybe, because they're basically Green Goblin. You'd consider him a person. You wouldn't consider him a bike. But I also maybe they should have no keywords and no infantry, no bike either. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they're alright as infantry? Or do you think they're a bit weird?
I mean, it's easy for them to jump off because they're literally just on like a skateboard. But it does seem a bit weird they got infantry because they're not.
Yeah, Gumbelina says they've got cavalry. It could be cavalry, which would kind of make sense as well.
It could be, which probably would make more sense. And to be fair, if they changed them to that, you probably wouldn't see them.
Yeah, true. Because the fact that they can they do just have that speed, and then they're infantry, which is great. So
yeah.
I got a question from Discord. No, obviously every week we invite fantastic guests, so people who are members or Twitch subscribers or Patreon members who are part of the Discord and link their account, they get access to more channels than everyone else. So one of the questions that came up, which I thought was fun, how do you feel knowing you're single-handedly proving up the Drakari community with free coaching? Because obviously we spoke about me and yourself, we spoke about coaching in Warhammer and how strange it is and weird that there's so many coaching services, and whether it's a right thing, whether it's a wrong thing, is a very large discussion. But obviously, as Realspace Raiders as a podcast, you guys are like, well, we do Drakari. Also, thanks for the follow, really appreciate it. We do Drakari, and we're gonna like help you become a better Drakari player. But we're just gonna talk at you, and you're just gonna have to listen. You don't have to pay. You can just ask us, but we're just gonna talk at you. Now, how do you feel like, because obviously you're doing, as we mentioned, like, there's loads of channels that are doing Drakari content, but you guys are just trying to be like, here's how to become better with Drakari. Do you feel good? Is it a good thing? Tell me a little bit about that, I presume it's a good thing, but...
Yeah, it's a very good thing, because we pay, this is my outlook on it, we pay enough for this hobby as it is, and a lot of people don't have money to spend on can you get me from losing all my games at a tournament to winning the tournament? Like some people don't have money to do that, and I am more on the side of I'm privileged to have the position where I can have a podcast or have these different channels where I can help people become better at playing the game. Even if it's through private messages or calls that I do with some of the like Realspace Raider boys, and I'm just happy to like chat to them and just make them like a better player, because I'm thankful that they just listen to me as a person anyway, and I'm very grateful for the community that we've kind of got, because it's very good. And we've had our Discord up for like 2 months, maybe 3 months, and it just runs itself, and we've got over like 250 people in there, which nice. For a relatively new podcast, I think that's good, and everyone's chatting. But we're a podcast which will listen to everyone, and if you have like ideas and how you're like improving your tournament scene, or if you got ideas that you think maybe you can, you know, better play for us and as Archons, all of us, we'll listen to you. But also, we're all here to try and make you better as well, without a paywall or anything like that. And that's just how I see it. Like I'd rather just like tell like help everyone than like take people's money and maybe not give the best advice.
Interesting. DN stuff in chat says Mikey starts taking notes, start a podcast. I've actually started multiple podcasts and they've all failed, so maybe I'm just not a podcast person. I think it's because I've just got such good looks and people just don't want to listen to my voice. They just always want to see my face because that always seems to do better.
It helps them in the VFX industry, so you know, I know how to edit and do all the artwork and all of that. So
yeah, for sure. So what I was gonna say, I keep like, I'm really sorry, I'm very, very tired. But Nathan, I've just seen Jake in chat. Nathan from the competitive 40k page has just sent me some interesting pie charts of the LGT that he's been working on. Gonna see those as well.
Yeah, go on.
Again, we keep bouncing from Realspace Raiders to LGT and back. I can't stick with one topic. Mikey just joined the conclave and we'll start filming to capture those looks. Obviously, the conclave, another excellent podcast as well. So here we go. So here's the LGT factions on a pie chart. So
wow.
As you can see, Astartes and Drakari being some of the largest, but then Death Guard and Necrons, the top 4. It's a nice visual when rather than just looking like a list. This is a nice visual of everything that's there. Does anything surprise you, or is it just very colourful?
It's very colourful, but there's a lot of Tau. A lot more of Tau than I thought it would be.
Where's Tau? Oh yeah, there is quite 13% of the 13 players, 2% of the faction, 2% of the players. It's quite interesting. Only 2 Slaanesh. Now I thought that like Slaanesh demons were pretty good, and I quite like them, especially if you chuck Be'lakor in there. But only 2 players playing pure Slaanesh.
Does Be'lakor stop them being pure Slaanesh then?
Pardon?
Does Be'lakor stop them being pure Slaanesh? Would they have to?
I don't think so, because he has the Slaanesh keyword. He has all the keywords. Unless people put the... That's the other problem is, like, I know in our group chat this morning, because I have like a group chat for all of our previous tournament attendees, a lot of people have been putting their faction down wrong. So whilst this data is great, if people aren't putting the information in correctly, then they are it's just gonna ruin it. Because I think people are putting themselves down as like Drakari, but then having like Harlequin allies and stuff like that. I know that was definitely a few cases. He's also sent me a couple more. Let me have a look at this next pie chart. We've got a big faction. So there is a perfect amount of 292 Imperium players, which is 50% of the event, which I'm not surprised at, considering most of them are Space Marine players. But like Chaos being left behind. Now I think a couple of years ago it would have been more Chaos than less Xenos. You know,
because they had books they could use.
Yes.
That's what.
Who's had the most 9th edition books in the past few weeks?
I have it. Like I said at the start, I've got a Night Lord's army. I've got a Demon's army. I've got an Emperor's Children's army. I've got a Chaos Knights army. I need a book. Yes. I need a book so I can use all of them.
Now someone in chat, Mr. Yes Meatball says Be'lakor does or does not stop you getting the locus of Slaanesh, depending on your interpretation of the rules. Now this is interesting because the Be'lakor's old FAQ for the old datasheet says he breaks locus, but now he's on a new datasheet, so you can argue that the old FAQ does not apply. Different events have rules each way. That's interesting because Be'lakor didn't have all the keywords before. He didn't have any. He was like unmarked essentially. But now he has all the keywords. Now, should you use an FAQ from a datasheet that's not out anymore? I don't think you should. But it's also not been taken out. So why?
So does he get the locus?
Well, that's the question. That's the question. So before, he didn't have any keywords. He didn't have any Chaos God keywords. And to gain the locust, every model in your detachment has to have the same keyword. But on his new datasheet, he has all 4 chaos keywords. So in depending whichever detachment he's in, he's a model with the right keyword, you know? So if he's in a Slaanesh detachment, he has Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, but he also has Slaanesh. So he's a model in a Slaanesh detachment, and they all have the Slaanesh keyword, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, but if an FAQ says you don't get it, but that was not the right. It was a wrong unit essentially. LGT have ruled that Be'lakor gets the locus as the FAQ was the old data sheet, which is fair. I think that's the right way to rule it.
Charge Be'lakor then. Look out for that.
Exactly. So what, average 19-inch move plus charge with fly?
Just pick up whatever you want.
Good luck, gamers. We've got one more. Now this is chance % to face a faction round 1. Ooh, interesting. So the chance of playing Astartes is 11%. The chance of playing Drakari is 9%. That's an interesting. I like this one. I mean, people are saying pie charts are rubbish. All this pie chart tells us is the person who made them definitely isn't colorblind. No, they're very, very, very similar colors. Lots of oranges and yellows. So apologies in chat if you struggle. But yeah, so like 1% chance of playing Imperial Knight, 1% Harlequins. I think most of it is 0.70% chance of playing Nurgle. So good luck if you get those. Tau only 2%. So yeah, so every 10 players is a Drakari player, so obviously that makes sense. But it's quite interesting. What do you think? Any interesting things you could see, or I know you might be able to, you might struggle because I'm sharing the screen, but
it's very. I can't read the writing, but I mean it looks pretty.
It looks pretty. Excellent. Okay. Wicked. Right. Okay. Large chickens will do Be'lakor in. I mean, a lot of people have moved towards the planes rather than the large chickens, right?
Yeah, because they lost their rerolls or something. They lost core.
Yeah, so the chickens used to have core, now they don't.
Yeah.
Who can't tell the difference between orange peach and burnt sienna? Brilliant. So we'll bounce back to Drakari because that's where you know and sit comfortably. So obviously you've got George is in chat, and you wanted to talk about his list, right? Because he's going completely differently. Because obviously you're taking Kronos because they can hide. Now he's taking Talos. Now we've obviously slightly mentioned Talos being able to take Heat Lancers, which are pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about his list and why it might do you think it's better than yours or worse? There's the question. Let's get some in-house rivalry going.
I mean, this is blowing me out a lot because of this paste bin is just a white screen next to me.
Okay. Yes, a little bit.
But I think it's a great list, and I think for LGT, I think it's probably a better list than mine that I'm taking. Me and George faced at a tournament once at the start of when the lockdown finished at a top table, and I was running like a Raider Rush list, and I got super lucky in turn 1 and took up 3 Talos, which was Dark Lancers, which was just completely against how the dice should have rolled. Like I rolled all hits, he rolled no saves. Really? I rolled 6s for damage, and I mean, what can you do against that? So
yeah, sometimes it's just a dice game, you know. Sometimes it just does go like that, you know. Once in a blue moon, it will happen.
Yeah, exactly. So his list is off meta, but it's a lot of people by surprise. I won't tell all the tricks because I don't want to give people an advantage over him. I'm just going to tell you what it does as a Drakari list.
Okay.
So the obsession is Cult the Cursed Blade, which is the first one in the Realspace raid, because in Drakari you can run a Cabal, a Witch Cult, and a Coven, and you basically get benefits for doing so, which is like the Archon gets to do his reroll for all core, which is rerolls to hit, which is good for Talos. So there's a nice little bit of synergy there. Nice. And also you get the Alliance of Agony CP, which you can start, and that gives for 1 CP you give everyone a Warlord trait out of the HQs, which is really nice. So at the start, you see the Archon.
Yeah.
H&E, that's the makes you fight last. And he's got the Raider Mastermind, where I have an Overlord ability. He has a Raider Mastermind, so he gets rerolls to everything with core, like I just said, which is really nice. He's got the DJ Mustard Blade again.
Nice, love that. Very spicy.
Yep, and then he's got the Splinter Genius, so he can reroll. So he gets to fight again, and he's gone for Poison Tongue, which there's some nice redeploy stratagems there, and it's +1 to poison, which we'll see is going to be like a key thing in the list later. Homunculus, Master Regenis, so that's been upgraded as well. So it's got the Poison Ample Relic, which let me just go back to Wahapedia, which is
Here we go.
source.
I don't know what poison are. I've never seen that one before. So.
It's the source of everything. But where is it? I should know this as a Magikari player. But Poison and Ample is. I cannot find it. It's basically a relic which gives, which is, I believe, it stops you from doing actions.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. So, say if you're doing a action which is over like a turn, he can walk up to it and go, "No, you're not." It's very crafty.
Gumbly in the chat says, turns off Obsec and the unit cannot have an aura or benefit from an aura, which is also very strong.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to open the old 40k app, you know how it be.
Yeah.
Is it poisonous? Poison. Poison doesn't do anything. Excellent.
Roll 1d6 on a 2+. That the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, so it's just a little smite. Then the unit until the start of the next turn, any aura abilities that have no effect on the unit, and also cannot be affected by aura abilities as well. Nice. So you can turn aura, and they cannot be affected by it.
That's sneaky. That's a very, very, very good one.
It's very good, isn't it? Then he has the Warlord trait of the Alchemical Maestro.
Yeah.
So that is once per battle, when the model is destroyed, it can come back on a 2+ with D3 mortal wounds.
Nice. Which keeps that relic around longer, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then the Master Regenis is basically when he does his pick a unit within 3, you heal D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah,
you heal
flat 3, right?
Yeah, nice. Which is super good.
Nice.
Then you got Succubus with the Triptych Whip, probably the best relic, which is the
it's so good because I think it's so weird that it just gives you 3 attacks. It doesn't say 3 attacks with this weapon. It's just flat 3 attacks.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But then it's also decent.
It's really killy as well because it's got a load of AP, 2+ poison, and flat 2 damage.
Yeah.
Then the Witch Cult is the Cursed Blade, so he's gone for what I like to call the Suicide Succubus. And so the Treacherous Deceiver, which is the Treacherous Deceiver. Yep. So each time you make an unmodified saving throw of a 4+, which is her invuln anyway. Okay. The Warlord against the Warlord, you suffer 1 mortal wound in return.
Nice. So go kill something, get hit back, and then die anyway.
Yeah. So if your witches fly into the succubus and you've got like 30 attacks going in there, and then she just bounces like 10 mortal wounds back and kills the squad.
Nice.
That's really good.
That's horrific.
Yeah, it's really good. And he's gone for, because he's got the upgraded Archon, he can have troop. So he's got the standard loadout of Dark Lance, which is nice.
Nice.
Then just some obsecs, the scoring units here. You got some just 2 units of racks.
Generic, just lots of little mini units, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Then a spattering of witches as well, with Hypex, and they're already +1 strength because of the detachment, because of the cult, and they also on 6s bounce mortal wounds back.
Awesome.
Which is nice. Hypex, which is +2 move, so they're super fun. And you got
is that like a 16-inch move on those? They move 14 base.
What, a witch?
No, sorry, I was looking at the Hellions. I'm a bit further on because they've also got Hypex.
Yeah, 16-inch base.
Yeah, nice.
Super far.
And which is moving 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eight normal.
Yeah.
10.
Nice.
Cool. Units of Hellions with that, and then we spoke about Matrix in my list. We know what they do.
Yeah.
Then we have 3 units of Talos. So Ica Injectors. Each Talos has D3 mortal wounds when he attacks.
Wow.
And each Talos has 2 heat lances, which is like the baby dark lance. But I actually think it's quite good because it's D6 plus 2.
Yeah, that's so. As I mentioned earlier, it's like even if it's only 18-inch range, it's still like a melter gun.
Yeah, it's still.
There's still really range. It doesn't need to be within half. I think that's super clutch. Again, when they're moving 8 within advance, so there will be -1 to hit, but that's still really, really good. If you get thirsty, you can see something nasty.
Yeah, and they're rerolling 1s because of the Archon. Yeah, which is really nice. And they're also -1 damage, 3 up safe, and 5 up pain. And one of them is getting flat 3 wounds back a turn.
Nice.
Super good. And then the transports. We have a single raider because he prepared for LGT, and he only has 1. Then he's got, for the obsec to go in and the witches and racks, he's got venoms. So there's double split cannon in them because he's poison tongue, so he gets +1 to poison. So that each one of them has 6, 3 plus poison, -1, 2 damage.
Nice.
Which is good. It's very good.
Sneaky. Good list. Really good list. Again, It's nice to see something a little bit different. I love Talos, and it's nice to see them on the board. I think they're so good. I mean, they're not as good as they used to be, but with Heat Lancers and the Icor Injectors, that's going to be really good. Really good.
Yeah, they're super good. And I'm almost inclined to disagree that they're not as good because they now can get the -1 damage. They now have the 5 Finna Pain, not a 6 up Finna Pain. And because of the Power from Pain table anyway, on turn 4 they're getting a 5 up Invuln. So
yeah. I think the only thing that really lost, obviously everyone was running them because they had the 4+ Invuln before, win profits.
Yeah. And the toughness 7 because of the homunculus.
Yeah, exactly. So really good, really interesting list. I like it. Now, other notable lists that I did pull out. I saw that Matt Robertson, who won our last event, who was running Sisters at the time, saying he was a bit bored of Sisters, but he's gone full skew, and he's actually running Iron Warriors and Chaos Demons because he's running 3 Khorne Lord of Skulls.
Yeah. Someone had to do that, and I'm pleased someone like him did it. Fantastic.
That's very good. So he's got a Lord Discordant on Hellstalker, a Master of Possession with Cursed Earth, Infernal Power, Demon Smith and Insidium, which I don't know what do because it's some Iron Warriors stuff. But essentially, the Master of Possession can give Demon Engines +1 Invuln and Infernal Power to reroll. Is that reroll number of shots and stuff or random damage stuff?
Oh gosh.
I'm testing the Chaos knowledge now. I know it's all been Drakari.
Drakari for a while. I might have.
It's cool. I can't remember either. But then he's got triple Khorne Lord of Skulls. So obviously Iron Warriors, so ignore cover. Hades, Gatling Cannons. And then he's just got a random patrol of a Bloodmaster, which is the Khorne Herald. 3 Naglings and 2 units of 5 Furies, which are also infantry, so they can deep strike and rod and stuff like that.
So the Khorne Bloodmaster, he gives plus and strength to their weapons, doesn't he?
Yes, because he's Khorne.
Does he have Relic as well?
And Crimson Crown.
Yeah, so every 6 to hit or 6 to wound gives an automatic hit.
Oh, sneak it. And someone just said Infernal Powers reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 whilst within 6.
And that's pretty good.
Yeah, so the Khorne Lord of Skulls are shooting at +1 strength, so strength 9. 6 is to hit and an extra hit. Rerolling hit and wounds of 1 if the power goes off with a 4+ Invuln if the power goes off.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. And do they get Demon Forge? They used to? Yeah, Demon Forge.
Yeah.
One of the reroll all hits and wounds, so you can fish for those 6s to get those automatic hits, automatic wounds. They're not automatic; they get extra hits.
You have to roll to hit. But the Demon Smith aura of exploding 6s to hit. So is that exploding 6s to hit and then an extra 6 to hit?
No, one's wound to hit.
Oh yeah, interesting. That's a lot of looking fishing for 6s. That is all the Dakar. Oh, they don't even know cover because vehicles don't get it because it's Chaos Space Marines. Silly me. But I thought that was quite an interesting list. Again, he's got the Furies, he's got the Naglins to play the mission, Lord Discordant to be right annoying, and also gives +1 to hit to all vehicles within 6. So they're going to be hitting on 2s.
Whoa.
That is horrific. And then obviously, Cold Lord of Skulls are really sneaky. Because obviously, you know, with vehicles, you measure to the hull. Right?
Yeah.
For combat. Well, the Cold Lord of Skull isn't on a base. And it's massive. It's really tall. So you can actually hit stuff that's like on high floors of buildings. Because you measure to the hull. How bizarre is that?
Oh god. Can you hide them as well in the L's? The big ones?
You could probably hide them in the L, yeah. I don't have a Cold Lord of Skull to check, but I imagine so, from what I remember.
That's quite good then. Keep them alive. That's horrific though, that shooting power. If he goes first and you have nothing that can hide in the terrain, like
or
Raiders.
Stop psychic powers. You know, like obviously you've got Helm's Bite, which is good. Iron Hands can deal with it quite easily because they have a stratagem to deny a 4+. But they'll have a 4+ in one if the power goes off. That's the scary bit. Never mind Infernal Power. You know, giving them all a 4+ in one.
Jesus.
That's an aura ability as well. So it's all of them will have a 4+ in one if they're together.
Oh.
The only problem he's going to have is driving them around the board, I think.
You're going to draw them to game 1, aren't you?
Don't say that. Don't say that. If I do, I want to go first. Because drop pod go burr, but the Naglins are there to be annoying as well because they infiltrate. Which is fun. I guess other notable things are that Conrad, obviously he's won LGT. He won the Invitational last time. He's won the LGT once or twice, maybe. He's also running Iron Hands. It's a very familiar list, you know, drop pod, Devastators, loads of Vanguard veterans, character Dreadnought, all the shenanigans. And I think that's pretty much it. I think we've done some good LGT prep there. We know what the terrain looks like. You can't hide Raiders, so no one's running them.
Well, there's a lot of people who have just gone, nah, I'm just going to run 10 Raiders.
If you've got loads.
Some will survive, and then if you go first, you win anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So, and so that I think that's everything. So Dom, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been really fun. It's been an absolute legend. Have you got anywhere that people can find you? Have you got like a podcast or a YouTube channel people can find you at?
Yeah, so on YouTube you can follow D6 Evolution for our Let's Talk Warhammer and other shows that we've got coming up. I know we're going to be covering some of the Kill Team stuff, and we're going to have a regular show monthly, or if we can fit it in a bit more with the Let's Talk Warhammer, where we just analyze meta lists and just generally just talk about how the Warhammer is shaping up with like new codexes dropping, or if anything changes with FAQs. We're just going to be there for a quick 40-minute to an hour like digestible lunchtime segment, so you can get your fill of that. And then if you want to follow our Realspace Raiders, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and we're on Spotify and all the major podcast platforms, which thankfully Buzzsprout kind of like helps us out with that. And yeah, we'll listen to us. We're all about hobbying, all about talking Drukhari lore and competitive play, and just trying to elevate your game. And we've got a lovely community on Discord, which you can message us and for the links, and you can join. And yeah, we'll hope to talk to any of you that reach out to us. And I'll be at LGT, walking around, playing games, taking names. You know how it is.
Especially with that list by the sounds of it. Excellent. Well, yeah, amazing, man. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it, and thank you to you guys at home for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've gained something from this podcast. Maybe you learned something, or maybe you're just excited to see some weird and also boring Drukhari lists, or any list at the LGT. You know, the boring ones being the Raiders. That's what I mean, not yours. Obviously, yours is the good ones. So, but yeah, so I'm going to go as well. I've got to dive off right now. So, Dom, thank you again for coming on. Really appreciate it. And guys at home, thank you very much for listening. And hopefully, we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye now.
See ya.